Good evening, everyone. Вітання. We're very happy to have you here with us. We're going to share a little bit more about webinar mode. As you can see on the screen, there are a couple of options which you can use during the webinar. One of them is chat. You can send us questions directly, or you can use the Q&A option, which will allow you to submit questions. My name is Nikita, and I'm Communications Manager, and soon we will be introducing the rest of the panelists. And tonight, I'm very happy to have those wonderful colleagues with us. We will have Trey Holland, our school director, presenting and speaking tonight with all of you. We'll have David Tikilar, our whole school principal assistant director. Tetiana, whom you might have heard from. Tetiana Dronchak is our admissions manager. Olena Kovalenko, it's the director of our Ukrainian school, and Peter House, athletics coordinator. And on this note, I shall pass this to Trey.
Hello, everyone. Again, Trey Holland here, director of PSI. And I just want to start by saying there are a few moments that our team would find more beautiful and uplifting than a chance to talk about our lovely community and our school. So we're honored to have you here with us this evening. And we're so happy that you're interested in hearing more about this wonderful, magical place that is PSI. And before we continue, I just want to give you an idea of what our goals are for this time we have together. I'm going to talk a little bit about our school, some broader aspects, and then we're going to go over to David, our whole school principal, who's going to discuss in more detail of the academic programming. We'll also have Peter and Olena talk about our extracurricular activities and as well as our Ukrainian program. And then we'll hand it over to Tetiana, and she will get into some more details about the process of the admissions, which I know is a very important part of why you're here tonight. And then finally, we'll be really excited to address any questions that you have about our school. So it's important to know that there are so many aspects of our school that make us who we are, but our history is a big part of that. We were founded in 1995, so we're coming close on our 30-year anniversary as a school. I think it's really important to know that our school was founded by parents, and that for me, it's part of our DNA as a school, that to this day, the active engagement of our parents in who we are, whether it's the academic programming or the experience of their children in our school, it's a real empowering environment for parents. And so I've always loved the fact that we're founded by parents and we still empower parents to this day. Our campus, we'll talk some more about our facilities later, but we are located here in Kyiv, obviously. What's exciting about our history is that with the advent of the full-scale invasion, our school went through the most challenging moment in its history, like many did in this wonderful nation. And our school was forced to relocate to Warsaw last year, essentially becoming an organizational equivalent of a displaced person. And the honor and pride and effort and sacrifice for our school to return to Kyiv and reopen again on our beautiful campus is such a big part of our identity and our inspiration as a team. And as we go through the night, I want you to note all the moments where you see evidence. I mean, as parents, you're looking at our school. I want to invite you to think about all the evidence you see tonight of how our community is thriving in the midst of the challenges we faced and how beautiful the future actually is for our whole learning community. As parents, and I myself am a parent of students who are in an international school, it's absolutely vital that when you entertain a community like ours, and you are considering entrusting us with the most precious thing in this world, which is your children, I want you to take a close look at what the foundational statements are. What are the philosophical groundings of what our community claims to stand for? We have limited time tonight. I won't be able to go through all the beautiful aspects of what we stand for, but I would like to focus on a couple of key elements. We have this motto, a place where we belong. I've been in many schools in my past where mottos, mission statements, sometimes they're framed, placed on a wall, and they gather dust. And they're not living statements of everyday existence. I want to assure you that for us, we are committed every day to living by the words, a place where we belong. This means a lot of things to us. We use this language with each other. It comes up in meetings, in classrooms, in hallways. And so it's a vibrant aspect of who we are. And you look at our mission, learning should be joyful while also be challenging, right? For learning to be challenging, it has a lot to do with personalization, understanding our students, and making sure their needs are being met. David will go into this in more depth later. So please, I invite you to take some more time to go to our website after tonight and take some time to reflect on the language you will see from our mission, our vision to our core values. It says a lot about who we are. And if you're here tonight, I have to believe you share a lot of these things as well. Accreditation. Okay. Any school that claims to offer excellent service, world-class education, it's important to have external evaluation of these programs. And that's what accreditation is for schools like PSI. And I just want to point out, when we think of one organization, it's called NEASC. It is one of the more premier, respected organizations in the entire world when it comes to evaluating and accrediting schools. There's a great story here. We just received our reaccreditation last year. And why is that important? I mentioned earlier that our school was forced to relocate to Warsaw. It was even during that time of disruption that our school was so committed to excellence and holding ourselves to the highest standards that we nonetheless reaccredited last year, which is an incredibly exciting achievement for our school. Also, again, David will go into this in far more detail later, but an international baccalaureate program is the keystone to our program as well. Our philosophical traditions, our pedagogical philosophy. IB, the International Baccalaureate, is right at the core of that. And we have also been approved again and accredited by IB. All right, there are so many parts to a vibrant community, so many parts of the family, if you will, that add to the richness and to the passion. I just want to say briefly that our board of governors, I in my life have never seen such a wholly committed, compassionate and passionate group of activists and volunteers as I see in our both parent and volunteers that make up our board. They are involved. They understand the school, they know our mission, they care about our students and our families. So I just wanted to take a moment to bring this to your attention that governance of a school like ours is so critical. And you would be so honored and proud to work with this board. And by the way, we're actually engaging in a new round of elections for the board coming up in these months ahead, which is again, an exciting moment for us. Wonderful. If we're going to talk about board, we have to talk about the key aspect of what makes our program successful. And that, of course, is our teaching faculty and staff. PSI is unique in Kyiv. It's unique in Ukraine for many reasons. We are the only world IB school. We're the only IB school in Ukraine that offers all three aspects of the program, from early childhood to the middle years to the diploma program, the details of which David will explain. But I want to talk about our faculty. There are wonderful teachers on our staff that hail from Ukraine, but over half of our staff is also international, coming from nations like Portugal, Spain, the United States, the United Kingdom. And our Ukrainian teachers, what's exciting about this as well, many of them have worked in international schools. So it just lends to that sense of excellence, that sense of professional capacity to meet the needs of students, to be empathetic to their needs, work well with parents. This is a consummate staff that your students would have the pleasure of working with. And I want to just say that Nikita will be putting in the qualifications. I believe, Nikita, if I'm correct, that will be going in the chat this evening. So I want to invite you all to please avail yourself of the information about our staff. a really exciting part of what makes us special. Wonderful. There are three, in my opinion, humbly, there are three aspects of what we would call a strong community in a school. The first one is a collaborative spirit and relationship between all the stakeholders. That means students, teachers, parents, board. Okay, so that's number one. This we have. When we use the term family or Adina for ourselves, it is not rhetoric. We are committed to that idea that we're all doing our part to enrich this community and serve our students and families. So collaboration and relationships between all the stakeholders, number one. Number two is strong values. Now, I've mentioned our foundational language and the words we use when we talk about what PSI is. So I want you to know this idea of strong values. We commit to these. Every day is a process of trying to live up to those values to the best of our ability, which leads to the third, which is culture. Building a culture where we belong, a culture where academic achievement and enrichment is part of our daily existence. All the aspects of care, compassion, collaboration, it's culture. Okay, so collaborative relationships, strong values, and culture. And this is just a major part of our evening tonight. And I hope you'll just take that in and reflect on that as you seek more information and have your thinking about what school you want for your students. Okay, it is my honor and pleasure to now hand this moment over to David Tehelar. As Nikita said, he is our whole school principal and also assistant director. David, if you would.
Yes, thank you, and good evening, everyone. If you can go to the next slide. So this slide shows you how the school is structured. So the top row of arrows shows the different curricular programs that we have. So we have the PYP in kindergarten to grade 5, and then we have the MYP from grade 6 to 10, and the DP from grade 11 to 12. And they're all in a way similar, but they're also different. They have their different character, and that is the influence of the IB. We follow the IB programs, which are the most prestigious programs in the world for national and international education. Now, if you look at the two rows of arrows at the bottom, that shows more how we are organized in terms of homeroom classes and in terms of subjects. Now, we start with kindergarten, so that is the 3 to 5 years old, and then maybe we just go back through all of them, and then we have the primary school, so that is grade 1 to 5, and then the secondary school, which can be split up in middle school, grade 6 to 8, and grade 9 to 12, and each section of the school has its own character that we will now talk through. So in the kindergarten, the children, they learn through play. And for example, literacy and numeracy, so language and maths, they learn through authentic experiences. So they have experiences together, inside or outside, or they bring experiences from their home, they bring it to the school. And all the language that they learn and the maths that they do is in the context of experiences that are meaningful and real to them. Then it is, of course, also a time where they have to learn their English, because most of our students come to kindergarten with very limited or no English. So in order to follow the school routines, to understand how the school works, there's a strong focus on them learning English. And of course, also social emotional learning. For example, when we talk about learning through play, it is learning to play with each other. It's learning to take turns and learning to listen to each other. And also at the bottom, we have following directions. The school has certain systems and we have certain routines, and the students have to learn to follow these directions. So those basic elements of being a student in a school, they are developed in kindergarten. And then in the primary school, we have homeroom teachers for language, math, social studies, and science. And we have specialist teachers, so separate teachers for arts, PE, and Ukrainian. So most of the day, the students are with one teacher and one teaching partner. So there are two adults in the class for most of the day, with the same two adults in the class. Most of the learning takes place in units of inquiry. So units of inquiry are kind of like themes or topics, and all the learning is integrated in that. And we specifically look at topics that are engaging, that are very interesting for the students, that are personally relevant, that make a connection with their real life, and they focus at the same time also on globally significant concepts. So, for example, topics that we have are discoveries and explorations, rights and responsibilities, physical and chemical changes, beliefs and values, homes and journeys, forces and motions, and stories. So there are just examples of very big topics, and we weave all the language and the maths, or part of the language, or most of the language and part of the maths, into those units. But we also have targeted lessons next to that, where the students focus on specific skills in language and specific maths. Now, a character trait of a feature of the learning in the primary school is that it is inquiry based. So that means that students are encouraged to ask questions, they wonder together, they engage in discussions either in small groups or big groups, they research information, they go to the library, they go to the internet, they look at multiple perspectives. So they really think deeply and they find out a lot themselves rather than the teacher passing on the information. And another aspect is the collaboration. Students, like in the photo, they work together a lot and they learn better because they work with others. Then we go to the next slide. And then in the middle school, there are more teachers per student. So we have separate subjects. We have separate subjects for maths, for English, for social studies, for science. So there are separate teachers, but they are all together every day, once a day, in advisory classes with the same teacher all the time. And the focus in those advisory classes is on social emotional learning, but also becoming together as a group and functioning well as a group. And of course, because they have so many different classes and have to find their way around the school, and they start getting more homework, they have an increased independence. So that is from grade 6 to 8. The learning is still conceptual and broad, looking at big topics that apply across the globe, not just in Ukraine, not just now, but we look at concepts that apply worldwide. And the inquiry-based learning, that remains a feature of learning in middle and high school as well. In high school, one difference is that the students get more choice. There's more choice in course options and different pathways. So the different pathways, and that is especially in 11 and 12, are the high school diploma or the high school diploma and combined with IB course certificates, and the high school diploma together with the full IB diploma. Now, the high school diploma is equivalent to the United States high school diploma and is therefore accepted by almost all universities in the world. And we are having and offering next year many more courses than we are offering this year, and is therefore very interesting for students. So, for example, and these are just a few examples, we will have courses on entrepreneurship, business management, journalism, debate, and art. And those are practical courses that many students who like to apply things and who like to see the relevance like to be involved in. Now, then the other possibility is that the other pathway that you have a high school diploma and you have some IB course certificates. The IB is very academic and very challenging. So some students say we do some that are more practical and some courses that are more analytical. So that is an in-between option. And then if students go for the high school diploma and the IB diploma, that is the most rigorous option, but it is meant for students who are very academic, have good organizational skills, who do not mind having an external exam at the end. And so our school allows students to look at their own interest, where do they want to go after school and where do they want to go to university. So we have many different options to accommodate the range of students that we have. Now, just going back to what Trey Holland said earlier, so what is now really important for us? That's a place where we belong. That is the school. So then we're thinking of the physical safety. Students need to be safe physically. And we have, for example, bomb shelters, but many things we do for them to be physically safe, but also to be psychologically safe. And you can also feel psychologically more safe if you engage in social emotional learning and you feel better about yourself and more competent. And another aspect is that we feel safe when we appreciate diversity. You have students from different national backgrounds, different linguistic backgrounds, different religious backgrounds, and everyone is welcome, and that makes us a special community. So another element from our guiding statements is the statement, voices valued. We value the voices of everyone involved in the school. So we appreciate the voices of the students, but also the parents. We work together a lot with the parents and the teachers. When we look at the students, we believe that they learn, they construct meanings through dialogue and collaboration. That is where their voices are heard, through expressing themselves, by giving feedback to each other and by reflecting on their own work. And in terms of organization, we listen to the voices of students in the primary student council, the secondary student leadership, the parent liaison group, and the parent teacher association. Now, we talked about that we value the voices of the students, so let's just listen to the voices of some students.
And I will ask my friends from PSI to show me a thumbs up if they can hear the sound. Just a technical check. Thank you.
I like to play badminton, math, and PE, and playtime. I like art books. I like art too. I love PSI.
In PSI, we learn how to get new friends. For example, a couple months ago, we didn't even know who we were, but right now, we're best friends.
I like teachers that don't tell my result for all class, like individual, for only for me, because it's my result and nobody else don't need to care about your result, because it's your result. It's what you doing, not someone else. And teachers, it's so good. It's my best school, and I like so teachers. And thank you who was a lot of years in this school. Thank you.
What I like about the bomb shelters is that you always know that, like, if you need something, the teachers or someone will just get it for you. It's quite comfy down there. We have a whiteboard that can turn into a screen, I'm pretty sure we do. And whenever you go down, like, if it's like in our math books or notebooks or something, or like if we work especially on our devices, the teachers may just bring down the supplies, and then you can just continue working without having to worry. The same as in the upstairs classroom, the same as not in the bomb shelters. Also, if it happens during lunchtime, then you have to put your lunch in your assigned seat. There's a little name tag, and then they'll just bring it to you.
Now we'd very much like to invite our very special guests, two of our students, Daria from grade 9 and Sofia from grade 11, to share a little bit more about their experiences. Shall we begin with Daria?
Okay, hello. So my name is Daria. I'm in grade 9. So yeah, now I will share about my experience at PSI. This is my first year at PSI. I've been studying here only for 1 semester on campus. And to be honest, when I came here, I was a little bit shocked, because it's so much it's really, really different from the schools I've been before, in a good way, of course, because, well, the main point is in the schools I've been, students had to find approach to teachers in order to get good grades, but at PSI it's vice versa. At PSI, each teacher is finding an approach to each student, and each student is learning based on their progress. For example, when I only came to school, I had a 0 level of French, but then and the girls in my class, they already knew some French, but well, and I was like, oh my god, what should I do? Because actually I felt a little bit insecure. But then the teacher was giving me absolutely separate tasks, and she was grading me absolutely on a different system. So I didn't feel that bad, and I was very, very grateful to her. The same, for example, with math. In a math class, like, I can say that I'm quite good, and the teacher gives me some additional tasks in order to challenge me a little bit, so I don't get bored in class. And also, the same, I'm graded based on what I do and based on how I improve, not based on the overall level of the class. And I think that's really, really, really important, because everyone has different pace of learning. Everyone has their own skills, and it's really good that everyone is included and no one stresses out about all of the subjects. Yeah. Also, what I wanted to say to all the people coming to school, don't be afraid to reach out, to talk about your concerns, to ask questions to anyone, because everyone is ready to help. Everyone is there for you, and like, it's okay if something goes wrong. You can always talk to people, and everyone will help. Thanks.
Thank you, Daria. Sophia?
Hi everyone, my name is Sophia. I'm in 11th grade. I've been at PSI for 11 years. I've been at the school since first grade, since 2013, so it's been a very long journey, and next year's my final year at PSI. It's 12th grade, and I'm graduating, and it really breaks me because PSI has been my safe haven for as long as I can remember, as long as I've been a person at this point. It's been like my entire life. And I used to tell people all the time that it's been my second home, but at this point I'm starting to realize that it's been like my home forever. And just like Mr. Trey was saying at the beginning, we had to relocate to Warsaw last year, and I went to Warsaw. And during quarantine, my family and I, for example, we moved a lot, but I realized that something stayed constant in my life the entire time, and that was PSI. And this is because of how amazing our team is every single year, how amazing they are at being resilient with going through overcoming challenges, and still putting students in the center and making optimal solutions so that us students get the most out of our educational experiences and our social experiences at school. I could talk hours about how amazing PSI is, honestly, forever. And I will add on to Dasha, because one of the first things she said, I completely agree with. The student and teacher dynamic is so close, and it's not like the scary feeling that you have with the teacher standing in front of you and feeling you can never reach them. It's actually kind of the opposite, where they reach out to us so much that we feel like they're a part of our classes sometimes. Like, we have teachers that, they're a part of our jokes and all this, and sometimes it sounds stupid to other people when we explain it, but in reality it's so nice to have teachers who you trust and who you can always count on helping you and not being scared of. Some other things about PSI that I've loved over my journey, are the number one student voice. I think honestly, I've met a lot of students from other CISA schools that have been accredited for CISA, and a lot of NIASC representatives and CISA representatives who actually work at these companies, and they always say that PSI is the number one school with student voice. And I can give some examples of that. Last year, we often get invited to speak at CISA conferences and NIASC conferences, and last year, when we were reaccredited, like Mr. Stray stated at the beginning, about our reaccreditation process, students were involved in that process, the PSI students, and we were apparently the first school to involve students in this process, and they said that it was the most incredible decision we could have made. In the report, they said that like the fact that students were a part of this was so interesting, and they started pitching it to other schools. So the fact that we were able to initiate something like this has been so important for us as a school, but also us as students. I mean, my friends and I were a part of it, and it was so meaningful for us to represent our pride of PSI, and also recognizing, the parts that we had to work on, because I feel like even we recognize our areas of growth, but we embrace them. We embrace the fact that we have to work on them together as a community. So that is my third point, that our community is so strong. We have all of our stakeholders, we all connect together. Primary students, secondary students, parents, we all have incredible connections between each other, and it's something that I'm going to miss about PSI incredibly, feeling like no matter what area, what corner of the school I go to, what person I go to, I know that I can trust them and know that I can count on them, and know that they will be a part of my life and I'll be a part of theirs. And it's been an amazing experience. So I think that by joining PSI, you're not only joining a school, you're joining a family that you're going to be bonded to forever, even when you leave as an alumni. I have friends who still talk to teachers at school. So I feel like it's one huge family, the PSI community, and it's the most incredible family to be a part of.
Thank you, Sophia. Back to you, David.
Thank you. Yeah, it's great to listen to students, actually better than to listen to me probably. But there's one point that both Daria and Sophia pointed out and referred to, and that is the aspect of personalization. And students are different. There are different abilities, there's different interests, there's different learning styles. And we wanted to challenge everyone at their own level. So we call that appropriately challenging. And we do that inside the lessons, but we also do it in what we call the flex block, or we call it the Panthers choice, where students make all choices for things during the school day that they have a special interest in. And also after school in the co-curricular program, students can make their own choices. And just going back to something that is actually true across all sections of school, kindergarten, primary, middle and high school, that all the learning, we want to be relevant for the students. We want the students to be able to connect it to their own life. And partially that is because we know that they will be more motivated and more interested. And if they're interested in it, then the learning will be deeper. And learning is also meaningful. That means that we look at broad, conceptual and global concepts that are true across all subjects and are true in not just in Ukraine, but around the world. We want them to have a deep understanding that is transportable to areas outside Ukraine, and we want them to be connected citizens who are part of the world community. Then a little bit about the structure of the school day. So students can start arriving from 8 o'clock onwards, and lessons begin at 8:15 in the secondary and 8:30 in the primary school, and the lessons finish at 3:30. And after that, we offer co-curricular activities for those students who are interested in it. And a special feature of a school, what makes it special, is that we have a very strong student support team, and that includes learning support. So students who need a little bit of extra support because they need maybe a little bit longer, or they need it to be explained in another way. But it also means that we work with students who are very talented, and that we don't want them just to sit there and things to be easy for them. We want it to be interesting for them as well. So both the students who are a little bit slower with digesting things, as well as students who are a bit faster. Then we, of course, have many students who do not speak English at home. So we have special teachers, special classes for extra English, as well as teachers who go inside the regular classes as a second or as a third teacher and help the students with their English. Then we have counseling, a counselor in the school. The counselor is like a psychologist. And we follow very carefully how every student feels, whether they're making friends, whether their moods impact them. We observe the students and then we talk with the students, or we organize special groups, or we talk with the parents. And the advisory or the homeroom class is also something that is special, where we just talk with the students. How are you doing in school? How can the school do things better? How can you do things better? And in the primary school, we have teaching partners in the school. So every class, apart from the teacher, also has a teaching partner. So there's always 2 adults in the class. So we are handing over to Olena, to talk about the Ukrainian school. So Olena, over to you.
Thank you, David. Вітаю вас. Українська школа в PSI – це навчальний заклад, який має ліцензію і організовує свою роботу відповідно до державного стандарту України. На базі нашої школи проводиться експеримент всеукраїнського рівня, в результаті якого ми успішно можемо поєднувати 2 навчальні програми – IB-програму та програму української школи. В українській школі навчання відбувається за екстернатною формою навчання і викладаються тільки предмети українознавчого циклу. Для перших-4 класів це українська мова та читання або література. Для в 5 класі додається історія України. 6-11 класи відповідно до класу додається географія України, правознавство, захист України, історія України. Діти, навчаючись за українською програмою, отримують навчальні досягнення, які заносяться до їхніх свідоцтв про базову загальну середню освіту. Результати навчальних досягнень з інших предметів ми перезараховуємо з IB-програми. Також учні нашої школи складають державну підсумкову атестацію, так як і в всіх українських школах. У 4 класі, в 9 та в 11. В 11 класі діти складають державну підсумкову атестацію та національний мультипредметний тест. Але, якщо ви знаєте, в цьому році в школах України державна підсумкова атестація відмінена, тому діти отримують тільки документ про освіту, не складаючи державну підсумкову атестацію. Але наші випускники щороку реєструються на національний мультипредметний тест і його успішно складають. І з цими результатами вони мають змогу вступати в українські вузи. Як результат, наші учні є успішними учнями школи, вони отримують, ще раз повторю, 2 документи про освіту, мають змогу отримати свідоцтво про повну загальну середню освіту державного зразка України та диплом IB. Дякую за увагу.
Дякуємо, Олена. Peter, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm very glad to be here and to have the opportunity to share about a fantastic co-curricular program. Firstly, I want to start with the importance of the program. So these activities help students to find their own passion and provide them lifelong skills beyond the normal school setting. Lifelong skills like critical thinking, creativity, leadership, and communication. For someone who is just starting at PSI, this is a perfect ground to form new friendships and to develop a sense of belonging. And lastly, these activities are fun. For many former students, the co-curricular tournaments like CISA are very cherished memories. So what do we offer? Our program categorized into 4 main areas: athletics and aquatics, performing and fine arts, technology and innovation, and academic competition. Just to mention a couple activities: football, climbing, Lego robotics, theater, and our advanced swimming program. The activities are available both for primary and secondary students. The program is divided into 3 seasons, lasting 8 weeks, and the session running from Monday to Friday from 3:30 till 4:30. And on the last slide, I want to just give a quick glimpse into the future, what is coming. We want to revive our intra and extramural athletic and academic tournaments, such as the international CISA and the local league KSSL. And also we want to reintroduce Saturday sports and provide more community building opportunities for students and the wider community.
Thank you so much, Peter. So at this point, you can see there's so many moving parts to what makes a rich community. All the different aspects of our program that really appeal to the whole child, the whole student, from socio-emotional to academic to athletic and artistic. But I want to move, if I could, quickly through some other aspects of the school that might be of interest to you as future parents, before we hand things over to Tatiana to get to a really important part of tonight, which is discussing the application process and the enrollment process. Our operations aspect of our school, as you can see from these photos, it is a core pride element for us that learning and the enrichment of students is inseparable from the quality of the environment in which that learning and experience is happening. And I believe, and I think we all believe, that one of the greatest prides and really the joys of being a member of this community is the quality of the facilities themselves. From the playgrounds to this gym, which is state-of-the-art, outdoor fields. We've got a wonderful theater for performances. And as Peter mentioned, we have an Olympic-sized swimming pool as well. So fantastic parts of the campus. Safety. Now, again, as a fellow parent, let's get to a really crucial and probably actually the most important part of our duty and obligation to all of our families. We spoke of one of the children, one of our little guys was talking about the bomb shelter. We've taken such great pride, and we're always trying to refine and improve these spaces. Since we're spending time there, the key about the bomb shelters is their safety, first and foremost, but also we've created them and designed them as learning spaces as well. That has 2 important pieces, right? There's the pedagogical part, the academic part, because every time the siren goes off, it's a disruption. Any way that we can mitigate or overcome or improve that on that is a win for us, a victory. But there's a psychological benefit as well in terms of continuity of learning in the spaces that underneath. And in addition to the bomb shelter, we have a state-of-the-art generator, which would allow for our school to continue operations if we were to lose power. We have closed-circuit CCTV systems. We have an incredibly professional, dedicated security team that is 24 hours that are all committed to the safety of all members of the community as well. I want to take a quick moment to talk about well-being. We've talked about academics, we've talked about the enrichment of our co-curricular program, our Ukrainian program, all the things that make our philosophy come to life. But I want to speak to our commitment to the psychological well-being of all members of our community. It is absolutely important that we recognize the stresses and the anxieties that our students and our staff and all the members of our family are facing on a daily basis. And when they come to school, knowing that they are safe there and that we are working not only with students, but with staff in terms of self-care, like self-regulation, understanding their experience. And this is such an important part of dealing with the anxiety of the environment in which we're living. Real quickly, we have a full spectrum cafeteria service as well. We take great pride in the quality of the food in our cafeteria. And those of you, when you visit, I think you'll find it's got a restaurant feel to it. It's a very lit and beautiful space for our students. And the food gets high marks from our students and families as well. And we will provide, with sufficient interest, a bus and transportation service for our families that would get students to school. We have an opening time or starting class time around 8:15. And so we have great experience in the past of organizing transportation. At present, just to let you know that we're not providing, because the number of parents at this point who have wanted to utilize that service has not been sufficient, but we have great confidence that as we grow in terms of numbers at the school, that we will be able to provide this in the future. And I just want to assure you that that will be an option for those interested. Okay, this is the moment we've been waiting for. Tatiana, please, by all means.
Thank you, Trey. Good evening. So I would like to share that following this event, I will be sending you an email with additional information we consider available for you to go through, as well as recording of today's session and, of course, guidance on the application process with all links. I would also like to mention that you can find a detailed description of our application process on our website, enroll.psi Kyiv UA. But also, I'm happy to connect with you and answer any questions that you may have. So please do not hesitate to reach out to me if there is something. But a few words about our process structure. So parents would need to create an online application form through our platform Veracross and submit all required documents in the application checklist. For example, report cards from your current and previous schools, references from your teachers, copies of passports, birth certificate, etc. Secondary students of grade 6 to 10 will also need to sit additional online testing in English and Math. Following the review of the application, a meeting with the school leadership team or support team could be arranged by my invitation. If we move to the next slide, you can see our tuition fee structure for the next year. In response to the difficulties that our families are facing, the tuition fees for the next year remain lower than it did before the war. The detailed description of the payment procedure could be found on our website, and also I will include it to my follow-up email. And of course, also feel free to reach out if there are any questions to this. And the last one, I'm delighted to open our Q&A session. Please feel free to use our Q&A tab, send us questions that you would like to ask us, and we will be happy to respond to them. So I see we have the very first question. It's regarding the ratio between Ukrainian students and foreign students in primary school, but would like to speak, Trey. Would you like to speak to this? Oh, you're muted.
My apologies for muting there. Yes, this is an important part of our evolution. Before the full-scale invasion, we had a certain limit on any nationality in the school at 40%. But at that time, our student numbers were at 550. This is important in terms of our national constitution or makeup now. When we started the year, we were getting close to like 85, 86% Ukrainian. With 86 students. We're now at 104, soon to be 105 students. And by my last count, Tatiana, you can correct me, but we're getting around the 80% mark for Ukrainians. So we're moving in the international direction. I just want to point out again that a lot of our Ukrainian families, this is part of our discussion with the type of families that we really are passionate to get into our community, are those who also have international experience as well. And not to forget that we have more than a 50% international constitution in our faculty as well. We just think all those are, but we're moving in the right direction, but we're not quite where we were before the conflict.
And if I can add to this, I would also like to mention that this increased capacity for Ukrainian students by the board allows us to accept more Ukrainian students, as many years, like for example 2 years before, we had no spaces for Ukrainian students, but now it gives a chance to Ukrainian kids to join our school. Any other questions?
You can also use the feature of raising your hand, and we will be happy to hear you live. There's any question?
So will there be a nursery group for the next school year? So nursery group, we accept kids starting from 3 years old. So this is, I guess this is the answer, right?
Got the answer. Age 3 is our first year.
That's by the 1st of September, right? Tatjana?
Yeah, so your child should be 3 years old for the 1st of September of 2024 to be able to join our K1 group, which is 3 years old.
And I think if the question was if we have the nursery for 2 years olds, unfortunately not yet. We also have a question from Gulnara. Gulnara, I will give you permission to speak. If you can please unmute yourself.
Good afternoon, can you hear me?
Yes, Gulnara.
Yeah, super. I have a question. How you will organize your working day in case of air alert in the early morning? How are you operating in this situation?
Right. If the alarms go off while parents are still at home, we ask that they wait until the siren ends. And we can go, this is a very important question. If on the way to school, a parent wants to enter a shelter in transit, again, if you arrive, we will take the child directly to the shelter. We give parents a lot of leeway in that regard. David, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, so there's a lot of flexibility for parents, like parents who live closer by or parents who live far away. But sometimes when the air alert sounds, we allow students to trickle in as they come, and slowly the day starts. With some classes have more students, others takes a little bit longer. But it's up to the parents to take the decisions what is safe. But if the air alert sounds while you're at home, we ask that you do not bring your children to school at that point.
Until the sirens.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Gulnara.
So we have other questions about gender ratio. It's hard to say, but I think around 50/50.
I would think so, yes.
The next one is regarding co-curricular activities and the possibility to prolong them. So probably having 2 hours instead of 1 hour after school. Peter?
So so I can speak to that one. Historically, for the secondary students, the co-curricular program was longer, was an hour and 30 minutes. And then when they had competitive athletics or aquatics, it was for 2 hours. The primary year program, it used to be 1 hour. And I think for primary students, the day is long already. And that's why we were thinking that 1 hour is sufficient for the primary students.
So we have one raised hand. Nikita, could you help by giving Dmitry voice?
Dmitry, please unmute yourself.
Hello, do you hear me?
Yes, Dmitry, hello.
So I have 2 questions. First one is about the Ukrainian school. I understand there are additional subjects that kids study. They require more time. The question, how do you accommodate those Ukrainian subjects into the schedule? First, and the second one about the report cards. Do you, at the end of the year, may calculate GPA in order to be able to, let's say, apply further in the universities or colleges in the States, just to make sure that they understand this course that kids have? Thank you.
Thank you, Дмитрій. Пані Олена, питання було стосовно розкладу української програми та як ми Який розклад в нас є, щоб діти встигали і навчатись за IB-програмою та за програмою української школи?
Так, як я вже сказала, програма української школи передбачає тільки предмети українознавчого циклу. Цим самим ми зменшуємо кількість годин, які викладаються в українській школі, і цим ми полегшуємо процес навчання для дітей, які одночасно вчаться в двох школах, які вчаться за українською програмою і які вчаться за міжнародною програмою. Далі, форма навчання – екстернатна форма навчання. Тому, якщо це початкова школа, то це тільки 2 навчальні години на тиждень. Це українська мова та література. Якщо це 5 клас, то ми маємо 3 навчальні години на тиждень. Класи невеликі зараз, і вчителі працюють майже індивідуально з дітьми. Тому діти не перевантажені, і ці предмети включені в навчальні дні. Тому ми вважаємо, що діти можуть успішно навчатися і опановувати 2 програми одночасно.
If it's grade number 8, how many hours?
Що 8 клас, то там 5 годин на тиждень. Та 2 мови, 1 література, географія України, тому що якраз у 8 класі починають вивчати курс географії, який називається «Географія України» і «Історія України». Так.
Thanks.
David, do you want to address the report card?
Yeah, so about the access to universities, many of our students, they apply and get access to universities in the UK, in the US, in Canada and Europe. So we do have the structures in place for universities to understand our program. And if we talk about the IB program, that is the most desirable pre-university program. So when universities see that a student has done the full IB, they're very interested in those students. But even with the high school diploma that we offer, many universities are still very much interested and they read the transcripts. We do not calculate the GPA, and more schools in the world do not calculate the GPA anymore. The universities, they don't look at that so much anymore. They look at the transcript, they know how to interpret the transcript, and especially if it is an IB diploma or IB certificates, they're very much interested in our students, and our students historically have gained access to very good universities around the globe.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dmitry.
We have more questions in the chat. So the question regarding if situation in Ukraine worsens, will the school move back to Poland?
I can address that. Right now, we're going through immense amount of contingency planning regarding any aspect of the conflict. There are no present plans to return to Poland. And as we move forward over the coming time, if things were to worsen, and we have to be honest that it's a possibility, probability is different, but the possibility, we would respond to that in a very robust manner and making sure that our students have the programming they need. But I just want to say at this point, we're going through a very robust board-led and director-led contingency planning process for worst-case scenarios, medium scenarios, and even improving scenarios, and how the school would respond to all of those. But no plans at this point to return to Poland.
Another question is regarding teachers, taking into account the ongoing war. There is a question. So many teachers decided to leave Ukraine, and what about our teachers? Who our teachers are?
I will start the answer and hand it to David. I want to say that, as I mentioned earlier, the team that we have brought together right now, many of them are new teachers actually, and they've chosen to come to Ukraine at this time. A very large percentage of our teachers are new. And so they've come very realistic about the commitment they're making. But I have something to say. We had 100% retention of teachers from this year going into next. for those of you who might not know how astounding that really is, I've never seen that in any school in my entire career, where all the teachers chose to return. David, I'll let you take it from there.
Yeah, I believe that our teachers really like the school, and they think the school is a great place to be. They like the city, they like the country, and that is why, because of how they feel about the school, they just want to stay. A number of our teachers say they have worked maybe in 5 or 7 international schools. They say this is the place they like most. Yeah, so for the teachers who we have at the moment, and of course, at some point, teachers will move on, like with all international teachers, they stay for a number of years, and there will be some transition. But as the school is growing, we also had to hire new teachers. All the teachers are staying, but we have to hire new teachers. And we believe that we are able to, again, recruit just those teachers who are interested in a place like our school, a small school that is growing in a special environment. They want to support the country, they want to support the students, and it's just those teachers who we need, and they are committed to staying at the school.
Actually, if it's okay, I'd just like to add a little part. I think, as I said earlier, I've been at the school for a long period, and I've seen the school go through pandemics and war and everything. And of course, I'm going to be honest, lots has changed, and the teachers know about this. They know how much many parts of PSI have changed. But I think something that has stayed constant for me is that the feeling of the teachers is like what it felt like before PSI. And this was one of the worries that I had, but there's something about, and this is not something that only I talk about. I've talked to several PSI teachers about this, directors, lots of people, that there's something about looking at a teacher and saying that, yeah, they're a PSI teacher. Like I could definitely see them teaching at our school. And I could say that about every single teacher right now teaching at PSI. And I think it's so important that they have that element to them, and I was so glad when I saw the new teachers this year, and I even talked to Mr. Trey about it, that I think all the teachers I could have easily seen them before the war, and it's so nice to see this, to kind of have that old part of PSI still, that the fact that our teachers are so amazing, even in current times. So I just wanted to add that. Thank you.
No, thank you so much, Sophia.
And since we are running a bit of time, I'm going to summarize a few questions, and we will promise we will provide written ones in response following the event. There were numerous questions about number of students in general in middle school. So David or Trey or Tatiana, who would like to answer?
I think in middle school, so grade 6 to 8, I think we will be probably just under 30 students. So that is for this year. So it would be about 8 to 10 students per grade level. We do expect, as we have been growing throughout the year, we expect to keep on growing, and especially August next year, we expect to have quite a number of new students, including a whole cohort of students who will come back from Warsaw, who used to study at PSI, and they have all indicated that at the end of this year they want to come back to PSI. So that is a group in itself. And then there are many parents like you who have expressed an interest in joining per August or earlier.
Thank you, David. And there was a question about homework and how overall whether or not we are giving it to students, and either they complete it fully at school during the day.
Mm-hmm. Now, homework is very limited in the primary school, and that is in line with research that says that at primary school level, giving homework or giving more homework does not lead to increased results. It starts making a difference in middle school and definitely in high school. So yes, in middle school, the students are getting homework, and I see Sophia smiling already a little bit. She is in grade 11 and she has to spend a lot of time after school. The DP is a very demanding program, and I'm sorry to say that, but she will spend many hours late in the evening. I think after this interview, she's going back to her homework.
Yeah, you're right. I have an essay to write.
Oh.
Tatiana, shall we wrap it up to honor the time and everyone's evening?
Yeah, I think so, but maybe we can answer the very last question regarding travels with students and possibilities to travel abroad. I think there is something to add here.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Historically we've had something called like classroom without walls, kind of a concept where students and grades take trips. With the beginning of the conflict, there was a major reevaluation of that. But I'm glad to say, having returned this year successfully and opened our doors, David and I are in extensive conversations with our parent representatives and liaison group. We want to talk to students. We want to re-engage. We want to re-engage the ability of our students to have experiences outside of the school and to travel. But we're in the process of figuring out, what do the parents really want in terms of international travel versus travel within Ukraine? We've gotten some differing voices, which is fine. Voices valued, of course. And so we need to figure out how we accommodate the different desires of the parents while making travel, returning to the idea of this enriching experience of getting kids off campus and doing interesting things.
Thank you, Trey. And as I just shared in the chat, we will answer to the remaining of questions in our follow-up email to everyone. Thank you, дякуємо, for joining us tonight, and we wish you a safe and calm evening.
Very nice having you with us. Thank you, everyone.